The Accidental Realtor. Sometimes success happens by accident. You're listening to the latest episode of The Accidental Realtor with Chuck Gallup and Steve Smith. I can't vouch for all the episodes, but this one's pretty good.
Hey everybody, welcome to the second episode of 2026 of The Accidental Realtor. I'm your host, Chuck Gallup, and
Steve Smith.
There you go. And my forehead is very washed out. My office at River Road, St. Paul, overlooks the river, and the sun is setting, and my blinds, I can't block out. I'm not fancy enough to get up equipment, so if you're watching live, it looks like my face is on fire. You're welcome.
They're just going to have to focus on our voices today, Chuck.
Let's focus on what's important, and that's our voices. Can we agree on that?
It's agreed.
Yeah. Sometimes Steve forgets it's a podcast, and he just kind of nods, and then I have to fill in with language, and it's okay. So we've been off to a really fun year. As busy as real estate gets in October, November, and then with all the holidays, we always push our team holiday events back, and we've had an action-packed couple of weeks. I want to talk about that and get your feedback on a couple things, but first of all, we brought in an improv coach. Listeners, you're going to hear from Cherie Smith, who is Ryan Serhant's commercial person in Florida. And Serhant, in his book, talks about, with his acting background, that he really believes in using improv to sharpen the saw of your skills and have some fun. So I've done this a couple times, and as a team, we rented out a big room, and we had an improv coach come in, and I think we converted some people. They loved it, didn't they?
They did. It was 90 minutes of fun. They weren't sure what to expect exactly, but I think as we got into it, and certainly towards the end, it was something that everyone agreed we would do again. It was a blast.
It was a total blast. And I tell you, every time I do this, I want to do it again. You know this, and probably our listeners don't, but I was an actor for a while. Well, signed up on a talent agency. I rarely got hired, went to a lot of casting calls. And one thing my casting people wanted me to do, my talent agent or whatever, was take improv. So I begrudgingly took level 1 improv at the Brave New Workshop, and I loved it so much I did levels 2 and 3, and I just had a blast. There's people from all walks of life, and they're all there for their various reasons, and some of those people are still friends. They become clients too, which is great. And it was just a great experience.
Well, having gone through the experience for the first time myself, and I think it's fair to say a lot of our team, it was the first time as well. It was fun. So I could see doing it again just for entertainment value, but it's not just for sales. Like you said, sharpening your skills and whatnot. But there's a lot of probably jobs out there, positions, things that people do that could really benefit from this improv.
Absolutely.
Being able to think quickly on your feet. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's what real estate is about. Actually, most jobs, but real estate in particular, you really got to think on your feet. And I love the yes and, where you take what your partner said, you always agree with it, and you build on it. And really, that's what real estate conversations are. They're yes ands. Love it. Love it. And of course, we have a big week this week. Tomorrow night, the team and all of the spouses are going to the game show room. And if listeners, if you've never seen this before, these are rooms that kind of mimic a TV game show, Family Feud or Price is Right. And you go in teams against each other, and it's just like you're on TV on the game show. Super, super fun.
I think we're going to find out firsthand. It's so easy to sit on the couch watching a game show and you kind of yell at someone like, how can you not know the answer? But you hear it's different when you're under the lights. So it's going to be interesting to see if that plays out tomorrow, if we all freeze up.
I'm going to freeze up. I'm panicked right now. Just think, I was panicked getting on the podcast as usual, but yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine.
I'm only panicked. I'm worried about not winning. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I know you pretty well. I'm sure that's it. Steve and I can't drive anywhere together without racing. God help us. Happened the other day. And by the way, I won. Oh, you're muted, Steve. Yep. No, you're muted. Can't argue back. Just kidding. You're not muted. Okay. But I won in the race. Let's just leave it at that. So, okay. I want to talk a little bit about the market. It's going to be wonky. We know that. We've talked about that. Just this week, the Fed has pushed back and is not lowering the interest rate. The president is furious, and we'll see where this goes. Things are a little weird with an investigation into the Fed Chair Jerome Powell. He's near the end of his term. Curious where this goes and how it's going to affect the mortgage interest rate, the economy, inflation, all that stuff. And it definitely has a big piece into what we do. But interest rates are still six-ish and sub six, which is really good. Activity has picked up quite a bit, don't you think?
I do. I mean, when you look at where we came from within the last couple of years, I think they, made it as high as 8 in the eights, maybe even pushing 9%. And the fact that we are at 6 or down in the fives is awesome. That alone, I think, has led us to believe that we could have a pretty good 2026. And if they do continue to come down, and we hope they do, it's going to be even better yet.
I think we're in for a great 2026, but it seems
Yeah, me
changed
too.
by the hour, although I'm generally optimistic.
You are. That's what
Always,
I love
Steve.
about
Yeah, when this microphone's off, we know how optimistic I am. Okay, sorry, I'm not bantering with our surprise guest here coming up, but he's in the title, so you all know who he is. We'll get into that in a minute. Want to talk a little bit about some leadership tips, and what I want to talk about specifically is hiring if you're in any industry, but let alone real estate, because a lot of times on teams, there's a bit of a revolving door, especially as you're bringing some new agents or agents get really skilled at what they're doing, which is our goal as leaders to grow them, make them as good as they can, and go, fly free, little bird, fly free. If we did that, we did our job. No, we want them to stick around. And a few of our top agents have been with us for years and years and years. And I think it becomes apparent to me, and I'm curious to get your take on this, but as and listeners, if you don't recall, we're managing partners for a real estate team. So we're co-managing partners, even though I'm technically senior and in charge. Steve, I let him talk. And we do a lot of hiring and we do a lot of firing. And I think it's important that you hire people that make your standards. And the minute it becomes apparent that they're not going to fit your culture, your morals, or your skill set, it's time to let them go. What's your take?
it. Yeah. Well, goes with that. I think it's easier said than done. So Chuck and I, we've had many conversations about this, and this is not a new novel idea to us. It's fair to say that it's getting the right people on the bus. We've been aware of this, but it's not always easy to do it, especially in sales, especially in real estate. It's easy to just try to fill the bus up with agents, just with people, more numbers, and that's not the case. We've learned that, relearned that within the last 6 months. That nope, sometimes you got to take a step back, pare it down a little bit so that we can get the right people on. So it's a constant endeavor, constant reminder to ourselves to do what you just said.
Yeah, and it's a weird industry because our employees are not W-2. They're 1099. They are contractors. So, we have some say in if they fit our culture and how we're gonna guide them, but we can't technically discipline them or other things. I mean, you could, but it'd just be wonky. So it's really gotta guide them. As soon as they're not a good fit, see ya.
Yeah. We don't want to discipline them. I think we speak for a lot of the team leaders out there, different teams, different brokerages. It's like, I don't want an employee, right? I don't want that kind of relationship. We all want to just be successful, have a rewarding job, and, do our job right.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm loving this glare in my face. I'm really enjoying there's no way I can hide from the sun. That's just what we got for the rest of the day. Well,
It
let's
almost looks like you need to put some makeup on your face to kind of give yourself some color.
I think, yeah. I didn't realize how greasy I am. I'm a pretty greasy fella, Steve. I don't know if you have a product
Well,
for
to me,
that.
it looks sweaty, but if
Yeah.
it's grease, I'll take your word for it. Okay.
Thank you. Speaking of grease, let's grease the skids with our next get with our guest here. This guy is a broadcaster. He's a writer. He's an advisor to corporations and other organizations. He's an ordained minister, I just learned in my research today. He's also a mayor. So we don't get a ton of mayors on our show. And actually, I met him through the entertainment business, and he has just been a great mentor and a great connection in this business. He's a generally very funny guy. We're going to definitely have him do a couple of his voices because he calls into all the local radio shows as a character. We'll see if he's willing to do that character for us. I won't reveal the character. He's got a couple. But everybody, let's welcome in the one and only Jimmy Francis.
Now I'm here.
There we go. Mr. Mayor, you look very sharp today.
What's happening?
Yeah,
Chuck?
you
What's
tell me.
happening, Steve?
Nice to meet you, Jimmy. You do look very mayoral.
I always look like this. I'm always in a blue suit.
Always the blue suit
What?
guy, Mayor
Yeah,
Chaos. Why do they call you Mayor
Mayor
Chaos,
Chaos.
Jimmy?
So, what's going on with this podcast anyway? What are you guys doing?
We're interviewing big important people. You got to tell me, why do they call you Mayor Chaos?
Oh, why do they call me Mayor Chaos? Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't hear that.
yeah.
Well, I call a professional citizen uh, had brought that up as a bad thing for me, as something as he's causing chaos because there was construction going on and there was some other stuff. So I took the power away and I made buttons and I turned myself into Mayor Chaos because that's what we were doing. We were causing the chaos to get everything back in order, and it wasn't a bad thing, just because couple of the roads were tore up. I know it's an inconvenience, but actually we got some stuff done, and we got that year we got one more road done than we would have normally gotten in, and we pushed the limits. We did push the limits of what everybody could, not only the staff could take on, but the city as far as getting around it. But it worked, and we got better bids. We got the road for less expensive because we did all this at the same time, and so that's where it started as chaos, but I kind of pulled it and made it my own because I didn't want them to have power, if that makes sense, to
I'm a
take
big
me down.
believer in proactive self-deprecation, to just cut them off at the knees. Like, there's nothing you can say that I haven't said about myself. Well, there's probably
Right.
some, but if you give me an idea of something to say, I'll start using it moving forward.
Yeah. And chaos is different. Remember back in our day, guys, when chaos was part of the evil nemesis of Get Smart. Remember
Mhm.
that? It was
Mhm.
spelled,
Yes.
and he had the shoe phone, and it was chaos was a little more fun, I guess. Maybe it was
Yeah.
spelled different too, but
Yeah,
whatever.
close enough. How many terms have you been mayor of South St. Paul?
I just got elected my third term, and they are 4-year
That is
endeavors. So,
impressive. How many mayors in the history of South St. Paul have gotten third term?
many. There's been a couple mayors. The mayor before me was she a few more years than me. So
Wow.
yeah. Well, she also served 2 years on the city council. I'm just straight up mayor. I didn't serve a city council term. Just went right for the top.
So what got you into politics in the first place?
Well, Chuck, you know me and you know my family a little bit. Steve, you don't know I'm one of 11 kids, 8 boys, 3 girls, and my parents raised 11 sales associates. So we learned early that you know take care of the customer, you listen to the customer, you listen to the neighbors. If the neighbor guy says pick that up, you pick it up, right? You can come back and complain to me, but you do what they say, and then that kind of. So that's how we were raised. And the former police chief sought me out at my job and said, "I know you're stumping for this other guy, but you should do it. You need to do it. Your family, your history, all the integrity that you have, plus your little young family. That's what South St. Paul needs right now." And so I brought that back to my wife and shared it with her. And she said, "Well, if Chief's telling you to do that, then yeah, I support you. Go do it." And so that's what got me into doing it. I had not thought about me doing it, but I was helping somebody else. Because Chuck, like you, I've had a checkered past. And when I say checkered, I mean like Chinese checkers. And yeah, I was in radio, I was in TV, right? Comedian, did some on-air stuff, still do some voice work. So I'm not your typical mayor candidate. So I never thought myself until he put it in that perspective. And then when I did decide to do it, then it all like came together. And when he said your family, I forgot at the time, but my great grandfather was the mayor in 1906.
Of South St.
So
Paul?
of South St. Paul.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so then I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. My grandma was the treasurer of the city for 25 years. And back then when she started, it was an elected position. So, so she got elected, and then they turned that into a staff position, call it the finance director. But at the time when she ran, she was both the school and the city treasurer. So like when you talk about family, that in that part of it, it was like, okay, I see what you mean. The service part of my family has already done this stuff, and that history is really important to people. And because I didn't know anything about it, I beckon back to those days. And this is what I really, in my experiences in office, is that we need the Augustus Francises of the world. We need to pull in he was a train guy, right? And then he was a deputy for Dakota County, and he was a fireman. So you pull in all these different people with no skills in politics to be your mayors and be your city council members, and then you do your job. And then if you're not being useful, get out. And if you're useful, stay as long as you want, right? And so that's kind of, again, South St. Paul has adopted that and as our kind of mantra, unspoken mantra, that's we just pull people that are here that want to do good work. It's not necessarily a stepping stone. Not many people have stepped out of here and gone anywhere but county commissioner, which is again the next level of service at this local level, right?
Well, that was going to be one of the questions I had for you, Jimmy. It seems like a lot of politicians, their grassroots starts oftentimes is with city government, council member becoming a mayor, and then they move on from there. Is that something that you're at liberty at sharing with us? Is that something that's ever interested you yourself to have additional further political ambitions? Or are you pretty content with just what you're doing now?
I ran in 2022 for the Dakota County commissioner, because historically that commissioner came out of South St. Paul, and our commissioner Kathleen Gaylord was retiring from Dakota County, and it was an open seat. Now they changed the lines and tried to be a little, I don't want to say sneaky, but move some people around so that I was actually running against a sitting member who was from a different district, but because of redistricting got changed. But my whole point was to go and represent South St. Paul and be the voice for South St. Paul. I didn't get that seat. The current commissioner, Joe Atkins, got that. And I will not challenge him because I think he does a good job for the city. And again, part of that process is just that, is right, like putting yourself out there and finding out, and then when that person that does get the job and they do a good job, and they want the job and they're successful and they're getting things done, I say keep them going. I have no other interest to go up the chain. I have said many times I would make a tremendous lieutenant governor. And so I put my name out there at any list for anybody that's running. If they want a nonpartisan mayor of the city of South St. Paul as their running mate, Jimmy Francis is up for the job.
The governor job sounds great. There are no politics involved right now at all, which is great. I love it.
Right.
Very
Well, in the lieutenant job, nobody really goes after number two, and you kind of get the same stuff and you're part of it. But actually, I do think that if I were chosen in this next cycle, I think I could be very effective in bringing people together. And that's kind of been my word of 2026 is harmony, right? We got to get back to this harmonious state where you got your stuff and I have my stuff, and that's fine. We can get along. We can go to church. We can be at the picnics together. We don't have to not go somewhere because that person's there, right? Like, let's just get back to being a little harmonious in what we do and how we do it with our neighbors. And if we are harmonious with our neighbors, then we got to spread that, right? We got to bring more people in and try to spread the harmony to others and show others how things can work with Democrats, Republicans, independents, gun, pro-life, pro whatever. Hey, that's what the world's about, right?
yeah. I'm going to pivot a little bit in my questioning, and I just want to talk a little bit about your history. The name, and we always remind people this, the Accidental Realtor is really about realtors like Steve and me, idiots like us, who were in something else, doing something else. And we always talk about real estate being the land of misfit toys. Someone who got thrown out, fired, couldn't do, ran out of options, and they became a realtor. And many of us became pretty successful. I would like to argue, arguably, your situation as mayor of South St. Paul is not that different. You have a history. I don't know if you heard the intro, but I went through your background. I mean, you've done a lot of things. And here you are. You kind of trip into this family legacy position of being mayor. What's your take on all that?
Yeah, well, I'm also, accidentally an insurance agent too,
Yeah, that's
right?
right. Yeah.
I have a day job. It's not all about the mayor stuff, and so I guess that's our tapestry, right? That's what puts us. That's what weaves us all together. And if we're open to those changes and facing it, I remember, Chuck, when you started being the realtor, and you're like, I have no idea, but I'm going to learn and I'm going to ask questions and I'm going to find out for you. And you fast forward to today, it isn't any different. You are still the same Chuck, and you know a little bit more, but if you don't know, you're still going to find out and get the answers. And you keep moving upstream on different kinds of housing for people because you met somebody who has a specific thing that they want. And so, you accidentally start to learn more about everything, right? And I guess as a mayor, I've learned more about bituminous roads than I ever thought I would ever, you know, do. And I did have a great respect for people who are able to just focus on what they're supposed to do and not get out of the lanes and get sidetracked. And you know maybe you have a side business, I don't know this, of house settings, or setting up pre-set up stuff of housing because you're in real estate. But basically, we don't do that as mayors. We don't try to get into what's going on at the county level and get in what's at the state level or even the federal level, right? We just, let's get our stuff straight and be really good, be the experts like you all have, right? So I've learned that in that process as well. As although I wasn't looking for it, I've brought my lifelong learning abilities to try to make it the best I can while I'm here. And being here for 3 terms is a testament that we're doing something right.
Couldn't agree more. And a lot of it,
Yep.
I think, is based on your history as honestly, I know you as a funny, fun guy. And I know some of this might be a little cryptic, but you're known around town to be on a bunch of different radio shows. Can you comment about some of the people you know that maybe you've heard or had their voices on radio, or is that still super secret?
No, that's been from day one. When I ran the first time, I put it all out there because I was like, hey, yeah, I was a clown. I've been on, you will see me on camera as a dog catching, a clown running for dog catcher in a spoof for an election series, right? And his name was Box the Clown, and he was the smoking, drinking, mean clown. And he's, man, traveled the gamut here on, both fake videos, fun videos, all of it's for a laugh, right? And then some radio shtick that doesn't play so well. It plays better on the radio than it does on, in person. Same with my character Junior Johnson, that metal bender from Paducah, Kentucky, who's been a spokesperson for everybody that you can think of. The Paducah Airplane Emporium, where they were, selling planes at discount rates. And Junior's Johnson. He was also the campaign manager for G.W. Leahy back in the day as well. So yeah, I've had some fun. I still do a little bit, right? Just keep my self in it. I One of my mantras so I can tell you what my mantra is. I can show it to you here just to tell you. But my kids wrote it on the back of my watch. They gave me a wooden watch for Christmas, and every day we say the same. We say the same things. What are you going to do today? And we all say the same things. It's honor God, have fun, make good choices, and be good. And so everything that I do is about that. But fun is really the key element that I like to pull out, because that you might not want to be good. You might not want to honor God, but if you want to have fun, I can kind of relate with everybody in that, right? And so I kind of kept that mantra, having fun. So being a character, the exploding trees that were just happening in the weather.
Yes.
I played a rip from the headlines guy on a radio station where they wanted to talk to somebody who did that. And I just created the character, and we talked about pre-blowing trees and cabling trees that we didn't want to blow in the cold, just having some fun. That's my middle name.
I can still, and I'm pretty active on social media, and every once in a while, one of your characters exists just on social media and will chime in with a typical, characteristic, confused, angry, or sarcastic comment just on random stuff I put on other people's pages. They go, "Oh, they know him too." I love that. I love that.
Yeah, well, it was more fun back in the beginning stages of social media, wasn't it? When it wasn't it was more cat videos and memes and, nobody really cared about this or that, but, when if you remember, I had the Twitter, or not the Twitter, where I used to take pictures from Facebook, and all I did on this my Twitter page was I I took pictures from Facebook and put them on Twitter, and I wrote, "Just took this." And then I would write, "With love from South St. Paul." And I must have done this for 2 years. And their picture, I didn't take the pictures, but I just took it from Facebook, right? And I
Oh,
put
I
it on
see.
there.
I see what you did there.
So I do one from some deal, and I wake up in the morning and it's like off the charts. It's some weather station in wherever saw my tweet and said, "Hey, look at this! Look at this!" And it was a canoe, a ice canoe with a snowman going down the lake. Right? It was so cold, and I just took this and I put it out there with love. So they comment on it, and then Bring Me the News gets a hold of it and says, "Wait a minute, that's not your picture. You didn't give credit to that. Why are you?" And so we had this, they called me and had a conversation. And I said, "You guys, this is the internet. This is not, it's make believe. This is not true. Read what the parody site says. It says this is a parody site. Void where prohibited may cause irritability." And they just, kind of drill down in it and say, "Well, aren't you misleading people that, this?" And it's like, no, no, I'm not. And I shouldn't be held to some higher standard because all of you people out there think that because you hold an elected position, pretty much a volunteer. I mean, we get paid, but it's nothing. It's $10,000 a year, and they kind of did that narrative. So it really soured me on having fun on the internet when it came to anything, actually. And then I pushed back at the reporter and I said, "Okay, whose picture is it then?" "Well, it's from Reddit." And I said, "Okay. Well, what did Reddit put it and give the source?" "Well, no, we didn't. We can't verify that." And I'm like, "Well, so now because I shared it and said just took this, you can't even verify it. Reddit just took it from somebody and posted it, but it's okay if they did it, 4 years ago, and it just came through a cycle." It just garbly-gook and nonsense that sometimes has changed, not sometimes, has changed the way social media is, and I'm not a big fan anymore of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think social media has definitely taken a twist, and I used to have a lot of fun on it too, and I'm a lot more careful, which is where it stops being fun. So I
Yeah,
get that. I
yeah,
get that.
and, people just take things the wrong way, and then that's all they have to do. Why, you and me and probably Steve, we got 4 or 5 other things going on. We're spinning plates, we're doing all the good charity work in the communities, we're helping people, we're waiving commissions because we're helping people. People don't know about that stuff, right? They don't, and we don't wear it on our sleeves because that's not what we do. We just go and we portray goodness. We walk our talk, and we don't need the pats on the back. And again, as a politician, they always say that, "Oh, the proverbial, selfie and trying to show you this and that." And it's like, no, I've been doing selfies since it started, dude. Like, I, this is what I do. I'm not doing it to show you how great I am. I'm doing it because we're spreading the info, and look, we're bringing people with us, bringing us on this journey.
I love it. Well, I've always loved your attitude. I love that you are probably the most eclectic, blue-suited, chaotic man I've met, and we've always had fun. I would imagine even in city meetings, you're fun. When you say, "Steve, we should go crash a city council meeting."
Yeah,
What?
that does not sound like fun. Like, yeah.
Well, we do, try to make it fun, but here's an example of just our leadership. I mean, there's not somebody up every week for citizens comments criticizing anybody, or barking at things, or bringing stuff forward, because they call us for it and we call them back and we take the calls, so they don't have to come to city council and say, "I'm not getting any action from you," right? And so our meetings are kind of boring. And so we do try to make it fun. We try to, we wear flannel shirts for Flannel Fest, and we wear, ugly sweaters for holidays, just to try to, show that we are human and we are your neighbors, right? We're not some big board up there. If you got a problem, call us. Let's try to figure it out. Right? And we can't solve everybody's problems. Like I said earlier, we try to stay in our lane, and we're not going to take fault or take ownership of things that aren't ours, or make statements on things that don't belong for us making statements. If it has to do with the protection of our city, if it has to do with the infrastructure, if it has to do with, public safety, yeah, we'll talk about it.
So you're
But
saying
we're not.
no proclamation for Chuck Gollop Day because it doesn't directly.
Oh no, that's a totally different deal, Chuck. I have two things that I do as a mayor in our city. Our city is run by a city administrator. We are a home rule charter, meaning we take our charter based off the state, and then we operate ours. Our charter says that the 7-body council will appoint a city administrator, and so the city administrator runs the day-to-day. My job is the officiant of our meetings. So all I have to do is run meetings on Monday, Robert's Rules of Order. That's it. I got one vote, just like the other 6 people on there. You got to get 4 yeses for anything to happen. And that's what my job is. Now, I sign the checks and I'm supposed to be the official spokesperson, but I'm not. We have a communications person. If they need me, I'll be there. But most of the time, that's the police chief, that's the fire chief, that's the city administrator. And I got to do that. But I am the official weed inspector by the state of Minnesota by statute, and proclamations are my discretion, and I can give them out freely to those that I see fit. So I've never turned down a proclamation for somebody. So if you need one, let's make a Chuck Gollop Day. Let's do it, buddy. Come to town.
What I'm hearing from you, Jimmy, then is to get the official endorsement from to be the city of South St. Paul's official real estate team. That needs to come from the city administrator, then, rather than you, right? To get
Right.
the official
Yep.
city's endorsement. Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. And you're up against a lot of realtors in our town. We got a long history of those here. We've been a good, affordable community for a long time. We're moving up the chain, though, because as you know, affordability is moving up, and it's changing. But we still are. We have most of the natural occurring affordable housing in our communities in South St. Paul, West St. Paul. So in our county, we're still holding that, but we're also building new stuff. We're also building new apartments. We're going vertical. We're getting those river views in that people always talked about. Like, we could have been a Stillwater if we, would have not tore everything down. And so we're building back purposefully, and we're thinking a lot about how we position it. I'm doing advocacy at the state. I was just talking to a guy who's running for state senate, we talked about, mining and all these other things. And I talked about, hey, let's try to get some of these restrictions that are happening for builders to get them on, condos. Nobody's building condos because they're held to these 10-year, right? You got to hold it for 10 years so that you can, all the warranties and all that stuff are included in there. Well, the builders are saying, okay, well, then we're not going to condoize them. We're going to run them for 15 years, and we're going to sit on them, and we're going to manage them like an apartment. And after 15 years, after we take all the TIF money, after we, manage it up, then we'll turn them over to condos, and we'll be out, on our way. And now they're built like apartments, not condos. So now you got condos that aren't really condos, and it doesn't work. So again, if we can advocate for that. Also, they were trying to change the laws and take the control up the chain to the state for zoning, so they want every single family house in the state of Minnesota to be a triplex or ancillary dwelling, a triplex plus an ancillary dwelling on it, which is insane. And, we don't have the infrastructure to be able to do that, right? You try to take one of our mayors was so eloquent by saying, take a coffee straw. That's what we have today. What you want to put in is a McDonald's pop straw, and he puts it over that. He goes, we don't have that capacity. You're trying to jam McDonald's straw into a coffee straw, and it might work for the first 2 years, But down the line, you're going to have bigger problems, and it's going to be a huge mess. And then you're going to have to start ripping up roads, and you're going to have to start putting in substations and all of these things that they just don't think of when they say, well, we just want control, take the local control away, and we need more housing, we need more density. And they're not really putting it back with the people who are actually can manage it, right? And just make sure that there's enough in their community, and where there's not, then you start going vertical.
It's an interesting take on things. We may have to talk more about development, not today, but
So I got 2 tokens for you guys, 50-cent tour. Come to South St. Paul. We'll do a 50-cent tour. And then, you can do it. We could do another podcast with the facts and with what's going on in South St. Paul. You can check it out, and they'll have a little more. And I'd love to do it because it's we're a little gem located in the South Metro, right on the river, and it's the center of the universe. If you Google it, you'll see.
We should
I'd love it.
definitely do that. I would love to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be in touch.
Great. I'll
about
ship
that.
these out to you guys. You can cash them in one day.
I love it. 50-cent tour. With inflation now, they're 64-cent tours. I appreciate it though.
No, we keep it. Hey, I'm keeping it down, bud. I'm telling you, and that's what we get. That's how we get developers in here to kick tires and look around. We're in Dakota County. We don't have sales tax. We don't have hospitality tax. We don't have a lot of stuff that we need. We need those things, and so we need those buildings. We need those developers. We need those housing. We need condos. We need the diversity of all of it, and we're open for business here in SSP. That's for sure.
I love it. And again, love your history and what you've been through and how you got there. And Jimmy, you're always a gem. I can't wait to see you in person again soon.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for having me on here and introducing me to the Accidental Program podcast.
The accidental something.
Yeah, just accidental. But no, it's been a real pleasure meeting you and talking with you, Jimmy.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, that was Jimmy Francis, Mayor Chaos, the blue suit guy. And wow. Not that I knew he was smart, but when we talk about like the master plan and where they're going with it, I guess it makes sense. He's the mayor. Haven't seen that side of him.
No, charismatic guy. I think a lot of politicians at all levels probably, get stereotyped as kind of a stiff piece of cardboard that just have talking points. He's not one of those politicians.
No, I can imagine too. I've known Jimmy. He says so himself. He's got the character Box the Clown. Jimmy's a clown, and I mean that in a respectful way. He's fun. He's respectful. He's clean, but he's always fun. And for them to bring that to the city council meeting, that's refreshing. Flannel shirt day, ugly sweater day.
I don't know, and I think him wanting it to be fun speaks to something else beyond it just being fun. It just shows that he's down to earth, too, right? Which I think a lot of people miss nowadays. A lot of people are not down to earth, and he is.
I was really hopeful that he'd let my favorite character of his slip by name, but he really wants to keep that in alias and have people think that he's a real person. That you've probably heard him. You'll probably hear him on radio around the Twin Cities. Funny guy. Well, speaking of funny, maybe this next story isn't so funny, but you've got a real estate story to bring us to a close for this week's episode.
Well, I do. Normally, we try to come up with a funny real estate story. So I've got one that's funny, but not in the typical humorous, comical way. Funny in terms of, wow, it's just interesting how things can change so quickly. So the story is basically, and Chuck, you're aware of this, is, we had a set of clients that basically wanted to sell a home and buy a home. So we helped them do that, had a great relationship with them, seemed like a great couple. And then as soon as we sell their home, they move into their new one. 2 days later, they get a divorce. And I don't think it was necessarily related to the home buying and home selling process, but it's funny in that, this job gets pigeonholed and stereotyped like a lot of jobs do, that it's just so simple and that there's, really nothing other than just a transaction. And that's not the case, right? People live real lives, divorce and deaths and injuries and job loss and everything else. But when this happened, it tends to catch us all by surprise. And if you're not prepared for it, it's funny how we sometimes deal with it. You can witness other agents literally freeze, going from what was a pleasant transaction, having ordinary real estate conversations with someone, to all of a sudden putting on a different hat and needing to be a friend, needing to be much more empathetic than what we thought that we would need to be. And so once again, it's just that situation of now dealing with this couple that just, did these transactions, now probably need us to sell this house. And they're asking us in some instances what they need to do. And of course, we have to stay neutral. We have to stay professional to both parties, but it's putting on that different hat, being empathetic, and just continuing to work the curveball that in this instance, real estate threw our way.
Yeah, and, those cracks might have existed before, and we all talk about this all the time, but real estate is a stressful job. It's a stressful game for homeowners, home buyers. It is incredibly stressful. That thing was ready to pop, and the real estate transaction probably pushed it over the edge.
Yeah. So obviously we always wish the best for our clients, and we're never happy to hear something like that. But just once again, anyone who's ever thinking about this profession, just realize, there is a certain amount of emotional intelligence that you have to have. We talked about improv and having the ability to shift, at a moment's notice, be able to think on our feet. All of that is very, very true, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Well, what a great way to round out this episode of The Accidental Realtor. It was great having Jimmy Francis on, Mayor Chaos, the Blue Suit Guy. And as always, we'll be bringing you some great content, some great ideas, and some great guests. So this has been an episode of The Accidental Realtor with, I'm sorry, I should gesture
Well,
better. Say your name.
are you pointing at me?
I'm pointing
But
to you.
Steve Smith.
Yeah.
And
What now? Oh, Chuck Gollop. Yeah, there we go.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I
Spit it
feel
out.
like we should tighten that up. We'll do it someday. We'll work on that. But remember, listeners, you can find us on all of the different apps. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you follow our Facebook page, The Accidental Realtor, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
All right. See everybody later.
Thank you for listening to Accidental Realtor. Frankly, I can't believe you made it through the whole thing. Way to go. I'm your announcer, Rusty Gatenby. Chuck has me tied up and held hostage in his basement. No kidding. Please help me. See you next time.